now. Hello, chess friends. Mike Koplitz with the Royal Rooks of York, Pennsylvania, here to bring you another lesson. This lesson continues from the best lessons of the Chess Coach book extended, and this is lesson number 7. I highly do recommend that you get this book. I really do like it. I think it's got some magnificent lessons in it. It's on page 193 that we're going to, if you want to follow me in the book. And of course, as always, I'd like to talk about what's in the chapter, and sometimes I'll even add some things that might be interesting. Okay, it says, strike while the night is cold. We have to come to understand the idea of compensation. This is when you sacrifice a pawn or an exchange, or sometimes even a piece. And as long as you're getting compensation on the board, it's okay to do that sacrifice. But you have to be careful because you can lose that compensation pretty quickly. Here's an interesting game between the author and a man named Goldberg back in 1991. So let me get a couple moves on the board for us. And it's a Sicilian. I would call this the Grand Prix attack. So we just continue with some development. This is all normal stuff you can find in any of your openings books. It is not an open Sicilian. If some of you are wondering why E4 and D5 have not been traded yet, that's okay. It doesn't have to happen. Just continue on. Now we have what looks to me like becoming a close Sicilian. Of course, it's still the Grand Prix attack. Bishop E7. Again, standard stuff. Nothing out of the ordinary here. I'll be honest with you, I don't see a whole lot going on here. And now we've got white, who's ready. Even though his queen bishop isn't quite developed yet, he's going to make the move E5. And as you look at the board, when black moved his bishop here, D7, the knight doesn't have a whole lot of places to go. It can go to G5 like it shows on the diagram, or it can go back to G8. I don't think this is a good move, but there he goes. And there is a question mark after that move, because it looks like a blunder. How are you going to get castled? How are you going to get that knight on G8 out? It would have been better off going to G5. So let's bring it back for a second. Go to G5, see what the computer says. Yeah, definitely a lot better. So we'll go to G8. Now the question is, how can you punish black for making a retreat and not giving his knight a good escape? We also call this a loss of time. I mean, black's going to be stuck with that knight there. It's going to cost him some time. So white starts to move. Now, it looks like a pawn sacrifice, and I know a lot of you who are new to the game will see that and say, oh, it's a pawn sacrifice, but it really isn't. Because after E takes F5, which was played in the game, this knight comes into D5. All of a sudden, white's starting to move pieces against the enemy king. Knight takes E5. Now you see why he did that, for those who are missing this real quick. Notice that the bishop on B5 is being attacked. The knight here on F3 is being attacked. Now, if bishop takes bishop, let's just do that real quick. Bishop takes bishop, then this knight will come backward. White decided to do c4. Now, white is a pawn down, but he's got development, he's got the center, he's got good compensation for this pawn. I mean, that pawn is not going to be a problem. So let's see what goes on here. So what do we have here? I'm kind of lost my place here just for a second. Okay, let me bring c4 back because I missed a move here. He did knight takes e5. He did bishop takes. And then he did c4. Okay, that's fine. I like the sequence I showed you a little better, but that's okay. So now the bishop's moved a couple of times. Bishop to f4. White's development is now complete. And the bishop here moves to e6. He's got to get that knight, that G knight. This knight's got to come to e2. I mean, he's getting pretty desperate here. So, unless I did that wrong. Oh, you know what? Let me put that back. I'm looking down here saying what's wrong here. He actually went e. That's better. So white does queen to e4. And he moves his king to f8. I mean, black's in trouble here. Doesn't really matter what he does, he's in trouble. So let's see where we're going to go here. Next move was knight to c7. Now, looking at knight to c7 quickly, you might be thinking, why can't I just take the knight? I'll give you a second for that. If you take the knight with the queen, this knight is going to come here check. And then this bishop will swoop down and take the knight. In other words, we can do this on the board. And you can see how the queen is going to be lost for two knights. So that's not a good idea. The knight on c7, of course, is attacking the rook. So the queen came to d4 check. And of course, king's got to move. That's pretty obvious. Now, after he moves, black brought his rook to d8. He's got to get his rook out of the way. He doesn't want to lose it. Might as well put it on the... You think you might as well put it on the open file. Of course, now this little pawn here, e7's kind of hanging, isn't it? Let's see what happens here. Queen's going to take it. And, of course, got his pawn back. Not that that's a big deal at this point. I mean, I think black's in pretty bad shape here. White's got full control of the board. I mean, let's be honest. Bishop f6. Of course, threatening that knight. He wants that pawn there at d3. There's the threat. There's the pawn. So the rook on a comes to e1. When you have an attack like this going on, you don't get overly worried about a pawn. Look at the number up top. 2.88, 2.68, 2.57, 292. Almost up a piece. There you go. Hit 3.0 and rising as the computer keeps calculating. White's a piece up. Positionally now, not materially. Positionally. Knight, black brought his knight to e7. And now the queen, he decided to pick up another pawn. Bishop came down to c8. Now the queen has to move. The computer and the player both picked b6. Now look at what's going on. +6. And now this is a positional problem. Because see this rook? It's dead in the water. He can't get that rook out. Therefore, he's playing a rook down at this point. Now you have to see if white's going to be able to do something about it. Well, knight came to g6. Knight to c6. And look at that little pretty fork. The queen took on d3. The knight's going to take d8. Well, that makes perfect sense, doesn't it? The knight here took f4. Wow. That's a checkmate. So what you can see here is how white was able to prevent black from castling. And of course, our beginners know that you got to castle as quick as you can. The higher rated the person is you're playing, they will know how to take advantage of you if you don't castle quickly. So my recommendation is, what is it? Castle quickly. You got to get all your pieces out in the game. Look at white. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 pieces attacking the black king. 5 if you want to consider that one. The queen is not defending the king. See, he went after that silly pawn. He didn't need it. The knight is out of place. It can't protect. You can see that black is doomed. Well, I hope you found this video to be interesting. I hope you buy this book. It's really a great book. And I will see you next time, dear friends. This is the Mike Koplecz Royal Rooks Chess Club of York, Pennsylvania. RoyalRooks.club. RoyalRooks.club. I am going to be running a private lesson on opposition on Monday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time. Come to the website. There are 15 slots at this moment. You can sign up. Of course, I'm telling you all this. This would be for March 21st, 2021. So if you're watching this video after that time, that lesson is long and gone. I probably shouldn't have advertised it, but I did. That's okay. All right. I hope to see you at the next lesson. Take care and happy chess.